My name's Hart, and in today's video we're going to be installing underfloor heating in my garage. We've got Dave here from ProWarm. Dave's going to tell us a little bit about the underfloor heating, and then we've got Kieran, and Kieran's going to help us install the underfloor heating as well. But he's going to be doing most of the work, and I'm watching it. Dave, can you tell us a little bit about what we've got here?
Yeah, so we're basically installing a high output in-screed wet system. Just as a quick overview, we've got our manifold, which is what we're going to connect all our pipework to. I'm going to staple the pipework down, and the other bits and bobs we'll talk more about as we're getting on with the install.
And Kieran, what are you going to be doing on this?
All of the work, apparently. Everyone's just going to watch me.
And you'll be able to see it better as well if it's level.
How's that?
So we've removed the manual vent valves that come fitted to the manifold as standard, and we've replaced the top one with an automatic air vent just to reduce the likelihood of airlocks and just make the system easier to maintain in that regard. And on the bottom one, we've obviously taken the vent valve out and replaced it with a pressure gauge so that we can see what pressure the system is at any given point in time, and we can do so without hooking up any external tools or equipment to the manifold. We just at a glance can look at this gauge and see and make sure that the system's retaining the correct pressure. And once we've filled it up and pressurized it, ready for the screeders, we can make sure that it's holding pressure before we leave without hooking anything up. If you get the staple gun, we can tack this in here along that line.
So Kieran's installed the manifold on the wall now. What's next? What's Kieran doing now?
Yeah, so the next thing for us to do is to start putting this stuff down. So this is called laminon. It's a grid membrane, and it's also a vapor barrier. So basically it just adds to the sort of damp proofing like a visqueen or like that type of material would. And each one of these little squares is 50 mil. So as we're spacing it at 150, we're just going to go 3 squares along with the pipe work, and it'll make our life a lot easier.
So this stops the liquid screed damaging the...
Yeah, that's why you see we've got that slight upturn against the wall. So that's just going to make sure that no screed can get behind and start lifting the insulation boards up.
So Kieran, you put the membrane down. Now, what's next?
So basically now we need to install this edging insulation. So the purpose of this is to stop your heat going into your walls. Basically, you're losing heat through the external walls. So yeah, this will just go all around the perimeter, around the edge of the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically just put that in for that.
And that also allows a little bit of expansion.
Expansion for your concrete as well, yeah.
And what I noticed on this as well, it's got like a sticky backing on it.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot easier.
It does.
To farm.
A lot easier, yeah. So basically, it's got a backing on it here. So once we put that in, this basically just sticks straight to the wall. So it's very easy to install as well.
So you're just finishing off this first loop now with this underfloor heating. Could you tell us a little bit about this underfloor heating and why you suggested that I should have this for my house?
First of all, obviously the manifold's got 4 circuits on it.
Yeah.
So there's a maximum amount of pipe that you can put on one run. so it's 100 meters. Otherwise, if you run the pipe for too long, what happens is you get too much of a differential between the flow and the return.
Right, okay.
And then, the first part of the circuit's nice and warm, and then the end part, it's giving up all of its heat and there's nothing left. So we've gone with 4 circuits to make sure we've got a nice, even heat distribution across the whole floor and consistent heating for the whole entire space. So that's sort of point of note number 1.
And what is the system? What is it called?
This is just what we call an in-screed staple system.
Right,
So where you're going to have the new screed put down in a couple of days, the pipe sits within the screed and we're just stapling it down onto the insulation just so that it doesn't move or come to the top, or just to hold it nice and secure for the screed to go over the top.
Why have you gone with this over a different type of system?
So we've got 2 other methods available. We've got a clip rail, which is like a long strip. If you imagine like a carpet gripper, but for pipe, we've got that kind of system. And then we've also got what we call an egg crate, or a castellated system panel, where you just sort of lay it down and it sort of clips in. But for this type of installation, it's a bit of an awkward shape because obviously we've got the angled walls. We've
I like to be awkward.
That's it. And we've also got a bit of a slight deviation in the levels, which obviously that's exactly, we've got a step, and that sort of thing is going to be really difficult to overcome with the other methods. So basically just keep it simple, use the staples. It's also the cheapest of the 3 options as well, so it's going to do the best job and it's going to cost the least money, so it's just an all-round winner, really.
What's Kieran doing with my hose?
Oh yeah, so what he's doing now is he's just bringing the hose in. He's going to put some hose lock fittings onto the manifold threads.
Yeah.
And then we're going to fill the system up and make sure it doesn't leak. And then once we've done that, we can pressure test.
So what do you do? Do you fill all the loops and get the air out of them?
Yes, so what he's going to do is he's going to fill each circuit one at a time.
Yeah.
Get rid of the air out of each of them, seal it up, and then we'll be ready to get a pressure test on.
And then what sort of pressure do we put that to?
So it's going to be between 4 and 6 bar usually.
Do you leave it at that pressure then?
Yeah, we'll leave it for that for at least sort of half an hour, just to make sure that all of our connections are good and we don't have any leaks anywhere around the manifold. And then, once you've left it at that and we know it's not leaking, we can then maybe let the pressure out a little bit, or you can leave it. It's up to you. It doesn't really make any difference, but you don't need that pressure out after you know it's not leaking.
And then screeders can come in there and then they can put the screed in.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
we know if they've caught it or damaged it or all like that.
Exactly.
Drop.
Yeah, because you can see on the pressure gauge there. So whatever you pressure it to, it will sort of fluctuate a little bit, but as long as you've got some pressure, and it should be in and around what you set it to initially, as long as you've got that, you know it's not leaking.
And then once you've done that and they've come and they've done all screed and stuff like that, how long after that do we need before we can put heat into it?
So it's usually 28 days, but it depends on the type of screed you're using. So you best kind of asking their advice.
Asking
the
advice.
screeders.
So will that depend on depth and stuff as well then?
Exactly, because obviously the thicker it is, the longer it takes to dry, and introducing the heat too soon can crack it. So, they'll know far better than we do what their screed can take and how soon before you can start introducing heat to it.
Right, so all the underfloor heating is now installed, so now we need to fill the system and bleed all the air out of the system. The way we do this is using a garden hose. We use a garden hose linked up to an outside tap. The reason we do that is we get a better pressure and it speeds up the process for us when we're doing this. So we've got one connected up here into our flow, which is the top of the manifold. And then the next one we've got is just down here on the return. So this one is essentially where we're going to bleed all the air out of. So the way we do this is underneath here, these caps come on these valves here. So if we use the top of this cap, it's basically just like a normal radiator key. So we put that under there. We just open that up. There we go, we can hear the water coming through now. and we're going to bleed each of these zones individually. So the way we do is we take these red collars off of the top, and then we open this one up. And now the pin inside of the top of this flow pin is now dropped, so we know the water's going through the system. And we can open up the return here as well. And then open up this return at the bottom. And now I've just got a bucket here with my return line in where we're going to bleed the air out of the system. Just give that a minute. And there we go. It's just going to come through now. We just give that a minute until we get a nice steady flow coming through this hose here. Just like that. And then all we do is shut the bottom just there, and then shut the top. And now we know that loop is now filled with water, and then we just need to repeat that exact same process for the rest of the loops that we've got on this manifold. What's that? We've filled the whole system now. So we've used our hoses just to fill the system. So now what we need to do is we need to pressurize this system. Now the reason we do that is because this is a screeded system. So the idea of it is we need to pressurize the pipe to expand the pipe, because when pipes heat and cool, they will move inside the screed. So by pressurizing this system, it sort of imitates that heating and cooling of the pipe and expanding and contracting. So we put between 4 and 6 bar in this system. So that's what we're going to do now. So now we've got our bucket here, we're connected onto the manifold. So the same process as before when we were filling the system. We're just going to undo our valve underneath here. And then it's the same process. We're going to go through each loop. We're going to fill this system. So we open up our loop here. Now on this testing bucket here, we've got a pressure gauge, so we know how much pressure we're putting in. So we pump this up and we can pressurize this just to about 6 bar. So once we know we've got 6 bar of pressure in there, we're then going to close this system up, this loop up. And then same as before, very simple, to repeat the same process for the rest of the loops we've got on the manifold here. Now once we've done that, we're going to turn this valve back off. We can release the pressure from our pipe here, disconnect this, and that is the system all pressurized. Now we're ready for the screed to go down.
So we've got 320 metres of pipe, and it's at 150 centres.
Well, I'll measure it in a sec. I'll put a laser stick on it and I'll tell you if you're right. 32 square metres. That's about the middle, isn't it? 110. 100. Let's make it 48 square
Maybe
metres.
48.
So we're just moving on to the liquid screed now, or the floor, or whatever it's going to be. I've got Kevin here. Kevin's going to tell me a little bit about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and also what his company is as well. So Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about what we're doing?
Okay, I'm Kevin from Flow Screed Services Norwood Limited. And the reason why we picked the product today is the client has told me that he wants to drive cars on this product. He also wants to use it as a studio. So obviously with depth that we've got to work with, we've gone for a flowing concrete rather than a flowing screed. And this concrete is called Evolution Self-Compacting Concrete. It's going to go over underfloor heating. So you'll get a good, and because it's 100% encapsulation of the pipes, you'll be able to get a good heat transfer for the depth of the concrete, and it's going to end up being a dead smooth finish, which you can then use for resin or garage floor paint or whatever other products you need to put onto it.
good stuff. So we've got a different level here as well. So you have told me that this might dry at different rates. And
Yes, we've got
possibly crank.
Yes, with different depths. If you've got steps in any floor makeup, there's always a risk of cracking because each depth will dry at a different rate. So hopefully there won't be, but I can't guarantee it.
And what about drying time? So how long will it take to, first of all, be able to walk on, and then be able to use the Underfloor heating?
Well, because this is a cementitious product, you will be able to walk on it at the very next day.
Right, okay. Oh, well.
Now, drying will take a millimetre a day.
Right.
Right. If you use the underfloor heating, it would after 7 days. If you put the underfloor heating on, it will dry 2 millimetres a day.
Right, okay.
Until fully cured. Now, because it's a cementitious product and it is a C30 mix, I'm expecting it's going to dry quicker than that. Look at that finish.
Thank you very much to Kieran and Dave and all the ProWarm team for coming and doing this installation for me, and also allowing us to film it as well for the YouTube channel and giving you guys some insight into underfloor heating. We've now a few finishing touches, just got to do the wiring centre and also fit the balancing actuators on as well, and let cure. So it's going to need to cure now for probably about a month or so, and then we can put some heat onto it, and then I can do some further videos on that as well. So if you've got any questions, put them in comments below. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next video.